Not all at once now, not all at once.
Josh, you described the fall period as a developmental period time for you guys. Are there any guys that you saw grow up or kind of surpass your expectations?
Yeah, we had a good fall. Obviously, with a lot of new players, it's our first chance to get on the field with them and get to know them as competitors and start to figure out adjustments and just kind of understand how they operate and how maybe we could make some jumps with our newcomers and then see how our returners came back from the summer. So fall was a good period for us. Did guys make jumps? Yeah, lots of guys did. We had a successful fall. We were pretty on point from day one of the semester up until we wrapped in November, and kids did a nice job in the off season as well. So yeah, I would say it was a good fall. Yes, very much so.
You mentioned.
I'll just get into Brian Holiday. I mean, I'm curious how he's settled into Stillwater, how you've kind of seen him do that. He moved around a lot. How's he kind of embraced this area?
Brian's awesome. He's a wonderful kid. He's one of the best teammates that I've ever seen. He's at the field. He's constantly working. He's constantly supporting teammates. He had a very good fall on the mound. Elite competitor, great teammate, very versatile pitcher, has the ability to pitch in any role, I think, that we deem best for the team. He can start, he could close. He's got 4 good pitches, tons of confidence. He's a real bright spot. I mean, he's absolutely wonderful.
Are you still kind of feeling out where roles might be for further rotation, or do you have some sort of idea where that might be?
Well, we're going to get through this weekend and see kind of how all the kids feel. We've been battling some flu. We've had some kids down for 3, 4, 5 days with flu, getting guys in shape, taking care of arms. We need this weekend and early next week to see how our guys feel before we set a rotation for week 1. We have a number of guys that are in the mix to start games. But really, quite honestly, when your pitch count in the first week is only at 60, 75 pitches, it's going to take 2 or 3 pitchers pieced together, combined, to pitch through those games. Our pitchers are not at the 100 and 115 pitch mark yet. There's just been no way to get them there. So that'll be something where we'll have to match up and piece that first weekend together, put a good game plan together, and then kind of go from there.
You mentioned a lot of new faces. Do you kind of have a feeling for what some of the strengths of this group will be yet?
Well, opportunity is going to be fun to watch how guys take on these opportunities. I think the emergence and the veteran leadership to help guys feel at home right away has been really good. To welcome in first-year team members and let them know we need you now. This is not a wait-and-see type of setting. We need you to come in here and be you. That's why you were recruited here. Those have been fun things to watch evolve, to see the leadership emerge. So yeah, I think those things are exciting. Obviously, we're going to be new at a few positions with the graduation and the draft. We'll be new up the middle. That'll be fun to see how the guys in the middle of the field, Lane Forsythe, Aiden Miola, Avery Ortiz, and a couple good young freshmen handle those opportunities to play. That'll be a key part of our team. We do have some veteran players returning in the outfield that have got a lot of good innings under their belt that have proven they can play at a very high level. We return good players on the corners with Tyler Wolford and Colin Brueggemann. The catching position is going to be a really important position to this team. Chase caught a vast majority of the innings last year and was really a heck of a player by the end of the season. So Ian and Bo and Charlie, those guys are going to have to step into that position, which they can do, and I believe they'll do well. And then on the pitching side, just tremendous opportunity for innings. You know, we have some guys back that have made great strides. Drew Blake, who's sitting in the back of the room, had a really good fall. He emerged last year as a redshirt freshman, has only gotten better. O'Toole returns. I think he had 5 or 6 quality wins last year. Jansen Kiesel had a good summer. Gabe Davis returns. Brendan Phillips returns. There's a lot of kids that really got started on their journey and last year and have a chance to really move it forward. And then we brought in a lot of newcomers. There's a lot of guys here that are new to you guys, and hopefully introduce themselves quite well when the season starts. And those guys will form our rotation and staff. A couple key guys for me is getting Ryan Bogus back healthy. Ryan's been a really important piece of our pitching staff over his 5-year window. He's working his way back towards health. Same could be said with Ryan Ure. Big part of our team 2 years ago as an emerging freshman, lost him last year to injury, and then getting Carson Benz stretched out and establishing what his pitch role might be along with his outfield role. All those things combined to put together our pitching plan. Number of transfers, some guys that have stepped up. Dominic Reed is a guy that didn't pitch much last year but had a great summer and a really outstanding fall. I like the potential that Dom brings. So a lot of new faces and lots of opportunity, I think, is the best way I could describe, kind of where this particular team is at if you're trying to get a feel for it.
Josh, you mentioned Chase and then Mendham. Those guys were, Mendham in his own way, because he wasn't a demonstrative guy, but they were such good leaders. And I really thought Chase was kind of the heartbeat of this team last season. You like player leadership. Are you seeing some of that develop with your younger guys?
Well, I think younger players learn first and foremost how to go about their business correctly from what they observe, and our veteran players have set a great example of how to do things the right way. And then over time, people start to trust you, whether you're younger or older. It doesn't really matter how old you are as long as you've earned their trust. And I've seen some young players already establish that they're here for the right reasons. And their work ethic is good. Their commitment to the team is good. And then really your age is irrelevant. It's just about doing the right thing and showing up ready to compete. So, yeah, I'm pleased with a number of our newcomers and how quickly they've adopted the right way to do things and committed themselves to what it takes to play at a high level. That's how you prepare. It's how you handle your business, how you operate in the classroom, how you follow through on your appointments, always being on time, showing up at the field ready. Those are high-level qualities, and we've got a lot of guys that are displaying those, even though they might only be 18 years old.
Yeah, just from observation, Nolan Schubert sure seems like he's wired correctly.
Well, he was from day one last year when he got here. He was very serious about what he came here to do, and again, had good examples in front of him all over the field. And then he dove right into this thing last year, and had a very, very strong freshman season. So yeah, there's lots of examples of players who've come in, and Coach Holder told me this, right when he hired me, actually 12 years ago. He said the ball doesn't know how old the person is throwing it. The bat doesn't know how old the person is swinging it. If you're really good, you're really good. And there's some truth to that. But I think experience and getting used to this level helps the person holding the bat and holding the ball believe in themselves and understand how it is they're supposed to do the task at hand. So performance and talent and becoming a skilled performer does take some time, but by no means do you have to limit when you arrive, and I've always remembered that because we have seen young players at times step in and play remarkably well quickly. So that would be another great thing to have is somebody stepping forward and not being patient, but rather being aggressive in their emergence.
We mentioned a lot of guys when you went through pitchers. Is that a sign that you feel good about your depth of this staff, or is that to be determined?
I do, yeah. I do have a good confidence in the depth. How we eventually settle in and line it up and what it looks like, I couldn't tell you with 100% certainty right now. But I'm going to be excited to see how kids respond when given the ball, and then we'll watch and figure out how we match up best and work our way towards a rotation and a pitch plan on a weekly basis to give us a really good shot to win 4 or 5 game weeks, which is essentially what the season becomes, right? It becomes a series of weeks in which you need to pitch 4 or in some weeks 5 really good games and go out there and line your guys up. So that's always the goal, is to find the way the ball club stacks up best, where we can go out there one day at a time, match up, have the necessary bullets to get people out. And but I think, again, pitch count wise and getting into the season and getting everybody back, that's what the early segment of your season, hopefully you go out there and you figure those things out, and we're certainly taking on a great challenge and going on the road and playing good teams. So it'll grow us up, it'll help us know where we're good and help us know where we have to improve.
You talked about Drew a little bit earlier. I know last year mostly coming out of the pin. Is that where he fits, or is he one of those guys that could have a shot to be in the rotation?
Well, Drew's very versatile. His pitch count and his ability to go through the batting order more than once is certainly something that could be there for us. But he's also a tremendous weapon in terms of being able to shut down late innings, pitch around traffic, and shut games down. So he has both the power component in a short look of a late inning guy, but also the skill that he's developed to possibly get through the order a couple of different times, which would be more of that approach as a starter. Oftentimes, the development of a third pitch to where a power relief pitcher who's not relying solely on the velocity of the fastball and the sharpness of a breaking ball, that third pitch is kind of the missing link when guys want to transition and throw more of a 4 or 5 inning pitch plan, and he's worked really hard and has a good changeup now to go along with his fastball and his slider. So all potential things. But like I said, in the early stages of the season, you're probably going to see having to put games together 3-4 inning chunks out of your guys since nobody's ready to go out there and throw 115 pitches yet. We just don't have the weeks from the time we get back to the first pitch to get the guys quite there. So we'll have kind of some piggybacks, if you will, a couple 2-man plans going into games with somebody to close.
With as good as Nolan was last year, where is he taking steps forward going into his sophomore year?
Well, I think Nolan, like many guys who have great freshman seasons, sometimes I think the expectation is, well, just double it. If you can do that as a freshman, why can't that's not realistic. Baseball's hard. When a freshman comes in and has whatever, I don't know, he had 75 some odd RBIs and had close to double-digit doubles, double-digit homers, well, you don't just double that just because you got a year older. Baseball's hard, and people start to pay a little bit more attention to you. Other players in the lineup that used to gain the other team's focus are gone, and now you become one of the more focused on parts of the offense the other team wants to try to slow down. So all he'll need to do is be himself, understanding he may get pitched a little different, or he may be a guy now that people try to say, hey, don't let that guy beat you, whereas last year maybe they're trying to stay away from a Nolan McLean, or maybe they were trying to stay away from a Rock Riggio or something, and then he was the one that sat there and made him pay. He'll find himself probably pitched a little differently, but we have good coverage in our batting order, and he just needs to be himself. I think where I've seen him improve the most, understanding how hard it is to physically stay strong through the entire year. He, like most guys, went out in the summer and saw that a 60-some-odd game college season and another 50 games in the summer, the game's pretty demanding on your body, so he's a stronger version of himself. But, yeah, he's like any good sophomore player, and in his case, he's actually one of the rare young, age-appropriate players in his grade. He just turned – he's a young sophomore. So when you have young players versus, say, a 23 or 4-year-old player who's been in the weight room and been on a college campus for 5 or 6 years, they're at different stages in their development. So that's a good compliment to him. He very well could be a freshman age-wise. That's how young he is.
He's a guy that was injured a lot last year, but whenever he was getting to play, he played really well. How do you kind of see him taking that next step into the season?
Yeah, Aiden was playing really well up until the thumb injury. He had a tough swing, and his thumb got pinched and damaged the ligament. He had surgery, and to his credit, he fought back and returned to impact the team late. Big home run in the conference tournament to put us in the finals. He's a tough kid. He's a tenacious competitor. He loves to compete. He thrives on competition. He's played a lot of second base. He'll start the season out there, and I think he's going to play well. It's important to him. He's put a lot into it. I think he's in a really good frame of mind in terms of feeling good about his preparation. Health has been good, and he's a guy that we're counting on.
When you had 2 middle infielders last year who had so much chemistry together, were such good defenders, is that a worry going into this year that these guys need to get chemistry built up, need to get some games under the belt? What's kind of your views on that?
I'd say it's an unknown with potential. You don't know sometimes until it's happened, but there's definitely the potential is there, right? And, like most tandems in sport, when guys develop the chemistry and really form something you can see on the field, that takes time to emerge as well, right? So we did have the benefit with Marcus and Rock that they'd played a lot of baseball together. Even in the summers they played on the same team, so they knew each other well. But that can be built and developed amongst teammates and new pairings. through time and repetition and communication. So that's a unique opportunity now for us to kind of reinvent the look of those two positions.
Josh, you look at a guy like Gabe Davis who hadn't pitched in here heading into last year, goes through some growing pains and then has a pretty good stretch for you guys down the edge. I mean, how pivotal was that experience early on whenever you went through those growing pains?
Yeah, Gabe got the ball in a lot of big moments last year and delivered in some and learned why late inning relievers and guys that pitch in high leverage situations are so valuable to teams. You can make 20 good pitches and then maybe one ball gets away from you just a little bit and a guy puts a barrel on it and the fate of the game turns the other direction. You feel like you didn't have a great outing, but I think what he realized is he was right on the verge and still is, of becoming something very special. And those experiences last year are only going to make him better. He became a very dependable, high leverage relief pitcher in many, many crucial games. And for a true freshman to take on that role is a compliment to him at that time. He's only going to be better moving forward because of the things he learned last year. And his arsenal's grown. He's got a really good curveball working right now to go along with a changeup. And those are pitches that will only make him better, whereas last year he might have been competing more off his fastball and a slider. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, wonderful starting point for any young player. Provide you some real learning opportunities to launch you forward into hopefully a bigger and even better sophomore year.
I know you've been pretty high on his upside. What makes his potential so valuable for you guys?
Well, he's got arm strength, first of all, which big arm strength usually is a part of a recipe. He's got great height and leverage, so the ball comes at a unique angle for the batter to try to handle. At 6'9", the ball literally feels like it's traveling downhill. Then you put him on the slope, and now the batter has to figure out how to get this bat somehow underneath the ball as it's crossing the plate with a high rate of speed and a steep angle. He's a very good athlete. He cares about what he's doing. He's working hard at what he's doing. And like I said, he's continuing to grow and add pitches to his arsenal. So a lot to like there.
Is he one of those guys you expect to be competing for one of the starting roles?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know better than anyone, like catcher, how maybe helpful it can be to split some of that time up throughout the course of a long season. How do you feel about that position with maybe some younger guys behind you?
Well, the catching position is a difficult one. It's as much emotionally and mentally demanding as it is physically because you have to be on point at all times. The catcher cannot afford to ever go back there and not be in the right headspace. He has to play every pitch correctly. It's a lot like playing quarterback. You have to constantly know your responsibilities, but those of others. You have to be the pitcher's partner in everything that's going on, and you work closely with the coaching staff. So it's a mentally demanding position. It's super important. It does take its toll on you physically. A lot of balls hit the dirt and ricochet off your body, and you're the only guy in the field that's standing up and squatting down the whole time and throwing the ball. So there's just a lot that goes into the position, but it's typically always been a position where two guys can be each other's greatest support, and I see it being very much a two-man position now. And we got a good young catcher in Charlie Carter that can do his part as well. So those guys can handle it. No doubt in my mind. They're tough kids, and they're good players. And looking forward to watching them perform.
What do you like about Charlie? One of those guys we haven't got.
Charlie, I just like Charlie's attitude. He took on all of his opportunities in the fall and was always on point. Nice catcher, good thrower, put the bat on the ball. Guys love him. He's earned the respect of his teammates through how he goes about his business. Got the mentality of a good young catcher.
You mentioned Charlie, you mentioned Avery. What do you like about Avery? And then are there other freshmen that have kind of poked their heads out a little early?
Sure, yeah. Well, Avery's a freshman from Tulsa Union, very athletic player, can play all three infield spots, moves around well. Had some good early success this fall. Has some doubles and home run type power. Colin Ritchie of our freshman class has probably emerged the quickest and stepped out the most. His at-bats in games and in scrimmages have been really, really high level. His consistency is excellent. He's strong, versatile kid, can play third base, can play the outfield. He's got the look of a freshman, that a pretty unique player. Donovan LaSalle has had some really good moments in his short time here. Good freshman class. There's a lot of guys there that are going to contribute to this team. I think when you look, I'm just looking at the roster here. Kyle Body is a freshman left-hand pitcher that no one knows about, and that's okay. He's going to go out there and get people out. He's way more advanced and further along than we ever thought. Max Knight, freshman from Bixby's, contributed and has the ability to get us some outs on the mound with a really good left-handed curveball. Also swings the bat. So there's a lot of the guys in the freshman class that have gotten their feet on the ground here. There'll be more as time goes on that keep getting more and more confident. But yeah, those guys, I'm pleased with the way our freshmen have competed to this point. It's a big adjustment. I think your freshman year going from high school baseball to this level of baseball, that's a big adjustment, maybe the biggest one that players go through. I think when a player leaves here after playing 3 or 4 years of very high-level baseball here, the jump to professional baseball, it's a jump, but I think they're more prepared for the jump. I think going from high school to this level is a more of an eye-opening experience and a bigger jump for most kids.
Josh, a couple of the freshmen you just mentioned right there are lefty pitchers. You got Phillips coming back. I've always been kind of enamored with and what he possibly can do. How do you feel about your pitching from the left side?
Yeah, so Kyle Body, Weston Rouse, I'm sorry, as I was going over the roster mentioning those kids, Weston Rouse, a freshman from Fort Gibson, big 6'6" lefty. He too has done a nice job in inter-squad games of grabbing outs. Those two young freshman left-handers, obviously with Drew in the room here. Sam Garcia, transfer from High Point, is a good left-hand pitcher and factors into our pitch plan right away. You mentioned Ryan Yerk, getting him back from Tommy John surgery would be a big addition to our pitching staff. Brennan last year started multiple games for us. Max Knight, I mentioned. Just kind of looking at the roster here, I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think we have solid depth on the left side. We certainly, in inter-squad games, get a chance to see some good left-hand pitching, and that's good for our offense because we're going to face some tough left-hand pitchers during the season. So I think we have a very solid mix on the right side and the left side.
With some of the uncertainty you talked about on the pitching staff, and I know Rob's always important, but is this extra important to rely on his experience in building this and kind of figuring out the pieces of this pitching staff?
Yeah, Rob's been great. He's had a really good vibe with this group of kids since day one, and the work ethic's been exceptional. Every single day, guys are chasing it. You know, when you see guys get to the facility and they're taking care of themselves and they're studying film and then they're mindful in their practice. They're working on things at a deep level. You can tell the guys know what the adjustments are they need to make. You can tell the focus is there. I've been very pleased with the way our pitching staff has worked towards this, and I think Rob's got a great feel for where the kids are at. And a lot of that goes into kind of how you figure out how to put them in the right roles, where the personalities, the ability to execute pitches at certain stages of the game with certain types of pitches. All that kind of goes into the strategy side and then putting guys in the right roles. And I think we got a good pulse right now where our pitching staff's at. I feel good about that. And Rob's done a heck of a job with this group so far.
What does Lane Forsythe bring to this group?
Experience. Lane played 3 years at Mississippi State, was on the field a lot, and was part of a lot of winning. I jokingly said he's got something I want. That's the national championship ring. But he's got good experience. He's got the ability to play a very solid defensive shortstop, which is obviously important to the defense and to the team. I think he's got something in his own mind that he feels like he's got left to prove, which I always like when a player feels like they've got last year, best year type approach to what's going on. So, obviously that's a big part of, what drew us to him and ultimately why he chose to come here in the transfer process was a chance to come in here and jump on the field at shortstop and have a great senior year. So hopefully a really, really steady defensive presence on the field for us.
Is he your first option there?
He is.
Carson Benj, is this a tricky time of year? You mentioned the short run-up anyway, but when you're trying to get a guy ready to go hit and throw, is that a tricky time?
Yeah, it's always tricky. Two-way players are hard. We've been really lucky to have some tremendous ones. I mean, I can't think of between Nolan McLean and Carson Benj, and then prior to that, Justin Campbell. Houston Morrow did a little bit. We've had some really, really gifted kids that could swing a bat, play great defense, and then get on the mound and absolutely light you up. So just rare athletes that can do these things. You know, playing one side of the ball is challenging enough, but to have kids that can do both, very rare. Carson's obviously, I would say coming out of high school, his lean or the evaluations on him were maybe a little stronger on the mound in terms of the next level. I think when he got here, people then realized what a gifted hitter and position player he was. He went through his freshman fall, and if I told you he hit 600, I'd probably be pretty accurate. It was a remarkable freshman fall, and he was on the verge of having a huge role on that particular team, which was a very, very deep offensive team. And then when he got on the mound in February, unfortunately, the elbow soreness that he had dealt with in the summer came back, and it was clearly Tommy John, and we had to get it done. So we missed him for that year. Last year, we had the unique challenge of bringing him back along where he was ready to hit from day one, but the pitching recovery was more of a March, April-ish pitching recovery. And we brought him back along on the mound because obviously he was a big part of our pitch plan. And he had some really high moments on the mound. He threw some games where he threw the ball really well, but he also emerged as one of the better hitters, in my opinion, in the country, and did so by playing a great right field. Just a unique player. And so, yeah, trying to figure out the right way to use your players, especially when a guy factors in probably your three-hole hitter. Got to be in the lineup every single day, and then how do you use that player and complement him on the mound? Those are the things that we're working through.
I know that the focus point right now is Sam Houston, but how big is that week going to Globe Life and starting out with ACU and then having that multi-team series?
Well, the
How
first
outside are
the first 8 games are tough. They're all on the road too. It's an opportunity, you know. We've had great weather here for the last 10 days, as everybody knows. It's been beautiful outside, but we've also had some early springs where we're literally sitting here trying to cancel series and moving them to places and melt snow and get rid of ice. And you've got teams traveling to Stillwater to play you, and you have guarantees to get them here, and you're sitting here going, does trying to play home baseball in late February make a lot of sense? So this is a chance to go where we know we're going to play. We know we're playing good teams. We think we're going to get pretty good weather. We're going to go put our cleats in the dirt against some of the best teams in college baseball, and we're not going to wonder where we're at. We're going to know where we're at, and then we're going to know exactly where we have to get better, and then we're going to attack it one day at a time. And I think for us, at least I'm the crazy man that put the schedule together, I'm kind of looking forward to it because I think those times on the road and those times together, the first big win will be exciting. The first tough loss, it'll stink, but we'll respond to it. We'll handle whatever comes our way, but we're going to be a whole lot more in the process 2 weeks in than we would be if, say, we took a path of less resistance, right? And so, yeah, I mean, we're ultimately trying to get great, and the beginning of this season is going to help us get there.
Josh, what kind of jump are you expecting out of a guy like Colin Briggerman?
Kind of jump?
Yeah.
Gosh, he was awfully good last year, Daniel. I mean, I think the thing in baseball, excellence is just being consistently good, and he was really consistent and really good. And if players can just continue to do that, play, I think back to the end of the year. I mean, he was taking walks, he's hitting line drives, he's hitting with 2 strikes, he's in the lineup against lefty. He just had become a very complete, balanced player, and he was just consistently good. And that in my mind is really what excellence in baseball is a guy that can go to home plate and just be a very consistent player. His at-bats were high level. He hit good pitching. I would love for him to just continue to take the approach he had last year and to see him do it day after day. And obviously now he'll be at first base, whereas last year he had the DH role. So that'll be a nice addition to kind of his load, right? Being on the field for all those innings versus DHing. But I bet if you polled a lot of the opposing team's coaches, they would tell you that Brigham Kid was a really, really tough out. And I think if he can maintain that presence in the middle of our order, I think he'll have a chance to have a really outstanding year.
And off the top of your mind, could you speak to how important Cecil was to the baseball program?
Yeah. So Daniel and I had played phone tag about Mr. Obrate's passing. To sit here and try to sum up, what his gift to Oklahoma State and in particular Cowboy baseball, the stadium, it would be impossible to put it into words. What I will say is what I learned in going to his celebration of life and going to Garden City and hearing all of his closest friends and family talk is it was as enjoyable and exciting and kind of life-changing experience for him to come back to Oklahoma State and to reconnect with the school and the passion of the university and to make that gift and build O'Brate Stadium. According to them, it was just as exciting for him as it was for us. And that was a really cool thing to hear and understand how much that meant to him. Bringing the family to the games, family reunions at the stadium in the summer, loading up his closest friends and family and coming and sitting in his suite and just sharing with people the pride that the stadium created in him, his name on it, his family's name on it. I think it was just a perfect match of a generous, lifelong giving man who, when you go up there and hear over 1,000 kids he's put through college through his foundation, the countless number of charities and projects that he had been a part of over his life, over $100 million invested in his community alone. Just a remarkable life that he lived of helping people and caring about people, and I'm just thankful that we got a chance to be part of kind of what he loved to do, and that was to make things better, and he definitely did that for us. O'Brate Stadium will sit on that corner forever, and that thing will be lit up, and it'll be a source of pride.